AI summarization.
It does about most for now, I guess.
Okay. And I see closed captions.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. Right. Please come on. Get another chair. I just see one person standing. Just kind of like the question up. Let's see. I call the meeting to order of April 16th, 2026, Vashon-Maury Community Council. Thank you all for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. We have some guests on Zoom also. Welcome. Someone recently commented to me that we're all here because we care about our island, and I feel that's worth highlighting. I thank you all for all that you do, whatever walk of life. One new thing, this meeting, I'd like to request for a Zoom monitor, a volunteer to just help me keep an eye on, like if somebody is raising their hand on Zoom, especially to make sure they get recognized, because as you can see, it's very difficult for me to keep track of that, dividing my attention. Anyone like to help out with that tonight? Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Let's get another chair. Really nice to have two chairs out for change. Thank you.
So, JC, I see at the bottom that there's 11 participants.
Yes.
But I can only see 4 of them.
Good point. Could we display the full list, please, Nicole?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. There's also a list format that's very helpful. Hello, everybody on Zoom. Nice to see your faces tonight, those that we can. This meeting's being video recorded and will be publicly available on VMCC's YouTube channel. To begin with, what's on my mind. Now, this is a part where you can just, we'll do that a little later.
Oh, okay.
Because this is not formal meeting yet. This is just our what's on my mind sort of check-in. If someone wants to share what they've been thinking about or what is urgent for them, you're welcome to briefly do that. Or we also have an optional prompt. This month it's what is one question we have about our shared life on this island through the coming year. And Javi, I see we've already gotten a couple people writing them down on the whiteboard. Would you like to read those, please, to get us started? What is one question you have about our shared life on this island through the coming year?
Well, how do we get more young islanders involved? And how can we get more affordable housing?
Thank you, Javi. So anyone else, something that's top of mind, or what's a question that we have for the coming year?
What's on my mind?
Yeah.
May I?
Sure.
I have an anecdote and then an observation. And then I'm going to ask Jen for some details. The anecdote is I have a friend who works in Seattle, and his mother's in memory care up in Shoreline. And he travels a lot and he visits her as often as he can. And her memory's slipping very quickly. But the one thing, two things that have kept her centered in her experiences, she's her wedding ring, given her by an old friend. And those are like her talismans, the key, the center of her self-defining entity, you know? I don't even know what language is. When he went on a business trip for a week, when he came back, those rings were gone. Someone had taken the rings off. Yeah. And I made this, I share this because it seems something so fundamentally wrong, it shouldn't even have a conversation. But it's part of like our national dialogue, things that you think no human being seemingly do, they do without any kind of repercussions. And I joined this council because I want to be a part of a group of people that stand for something so unalterable that it keeps our community. That's my observation. My anecdote. My observation is that recently, a mass email went out from this organization to at least 1,000 people on our email database. It went out and it went out without authorization or consensus or any votes from the board. And I consider that to be a serious issue. And I would ask Jen to comment on what she knows as secretary. You would?
Well, I'd like to defer that. Thank you for your statement. And before getting into depth on something like that, I'd like to give other people an opportunity to speak to what's on their mind or a question they have for the upcoming year. Thank you, Ike. Yes, Chad.
Just briefly, I just wanted to mention that, I've been working for years to get road maintenance on this island and even sign of it happening. But when our governments get into budget trouble, it's mostly because it's just layers and layers of entitlement programs. And if the recipients of these programs don't get paid, they can sue the government. The highways funds are not an entitlement program. So those funds get empty to pay for the entitlements. And I just believe that's one of the reasons why we don't see our roads getting.
Thank you, Chad. Anyone else? What's top of mind or a question you have about the coming year?
Steve Bergman has his hand up.
Thank you, Michael. Steve?
Thanks, JC. My question for the group is how many more beach tires are we going to find on our beaches that we can remove prior to the May 16th epic day of service for the Rotary to get another 127 beach tires, toxic beach tires off of our beaches? So we ask everyone's help to identify where they are and help us dig them up and get them off the beach. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Steve, and thanks to the Rotary Club for organizing that effort. Yes, Forrest?
Hi, I'm Colby. And I just pops out. I wonder if our community wants to consider a community-wide response or something to artificial intelligence. This is something that's sweeping the world at a high rate and having a big impact. And perhaps we have an opportunity here to not be swept along by giant wave. So,
Thank you, Colby. I know that's a concern many of us share. Yes,
My name's Allison.
hi, Allison.
I'm curious, has there ever been any really commitment to building a community center or something for everyone to join in on the island? I know it's been talked about for like 30 years, but is there really anything happening with that or in the future happening?
I can't speak to that. Is anyone readily able to?
I can talk a little bit about it. At prior meetings with the county, we have asked Bong and others if it's possible to talk to King County about installing a community center on Vashon, and they said out of the question. No budget is available. So it's up to us if we want to build one to make it happen. I think it's a great idea. We've got a number of small community centers like the senior center and other venues, but I think a community center located on Vashon would be a fantastic addition to the island.
I agree, thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Allison. Let's wait and see if anyone else has something to say first, Jeff. Yes, Doug?
Yeah, well, first of all, I believe that at one point, what we now call Over Park or whatever, was a community center in Vashon, funded by King County. And I was a youth at the time, called it a youth center, but it was actually a community center. So it's an idea that's come and gone with Vashon before. I don't know why it came or why it went, but there's that. But my concern is actually a little different, which is one of the issues I almost regard it as a secret or a hiding issue, which is what is the role of businesses on Vashon? Are they all good, or do they sometimes take advantage of people or institutions? And I have an impression that sometimes they do take advantage of people. For example, what is a nonprofit? Well, if you look at a list of nonprofits on Vashon, there's something like 50 of them. And I'm guessing that many of them are pretty much inactive. But some of them are quite active. Among them are churches, which are nonprofits. Although usually lists of nonprofits for the Beachcomber do not include any churches, but they are nonprofits. And recently, one of the banks on Vashon has taken off after nonprofits, including churches. And I'm quite curious exactly what their motivation was. Credit unions and banks are living in different worlds, and the credit union person I talked to was very critical of the bank action in this regard. But I think it deserves a little bit of attention. Just what are these private sector businesses doing, and are they working in our interest? And is there another set of organizations that might be preferable in terms of working in our interest? And so that's just something I put out there. I don't really know the answer, but we do have banks, we do have grocery stores. We have mostly private enterprise on Vashon, and I think it's worth asking, just what is it doing, and is it doing something for the island as a whole?
Thank you very much, Doug. Before we wrap this up, Kevin?
Heard a presentation from Andrea Ogden at a meeting last week about dementia care. Andrea is in a situation where she's caring for a family member suffering from dementia. She talked about the challenge of finding good care on this island. It's not non-existent, but there's not a lot of it. So I was thinking about that and the fact that what we have right now is Seymour building a building right now. They have an existing building up on Sunrise Ridge. So it's sort of the notion of what facilities do we really have available to us? And maybe the Sunrise Ridge facility isn't as nice and new like we'd love it to be. But there's a couple of groups who've left Sunrise Ridge now, Food Bank as well as Seymour. And so as we think about our future and the needs that we have, I think we should be thinking about the facilities that we have and how to make sure that they are hopefully aligned with our highest values and needs.
Thank you, Kevin. Anyone like learning something before we move on?
Yes.
Lynn?
I'm Lynn Kerrigan. I just wanted to respond to you because I've worked quite a bit in healthcare and with the health district about what's happening with Seymour. So they pulled out of our health district when we got a commission together to look at how do we address urgent care, how do we address substance abuse, how do we address behavioral health. We have a lot of needs here for healthcare that haven't been provided since, COVID, and a lot of people have fled. So I guess what I want to say is that Seymour made their own decisions to pull away from that clinic that's on Sunrise and build their own place rather than be accountable to our health district in any way. They didn't want to answer our questions about what exactly they provide or what their hours are or anything. They want to be their own entity. And so the health district is now working to manage whatever we as a community want to do with the existing Sunrise Ridge clinic. And so that's kind of been processed through the health district, which I think has been managing other things like the mobile integrated health idea through the fire department, as well as contracting with Dispatch Health, which is a private urgent care home service. So there is a lot going on with health. And I guess my point is that is in play through the health district.
Thank you. Jeff, did you have something you wanted to say?
Just for a community center, I believe that you ought to be able to use some of the facilities at the school with for community meetings. Like, we've got lots of buildings and we spend a lot of money on it. We ought to be able to make room for some community activities at the schools.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, let's move on. The formal part of our meeting will now begin with the determination if there's a quorum. We need 25 voting council members minimum. If you've joined the Vashon-Maury Community Council, you'll know your membership has been processed if you've received a welcome email from Debbie Jackson. We operate on the good faith principles, so if you're a member, please vote, and if you're not, please don't. And so for determination of quorum, everybody who's in attendance and is a member, please raise your hands. And on Zoom, you can use the react button to raise your hand if you will. The thumb, okay.
I get 22 in the room and 7 on Zoom.
22 in the room and 7 on Zoom, great. 29. I bet we do make a quorum. Let's have a round of applause. The minutes of the council meeting will be taken by our secretary, Jen Rakovic. Thank you, Jen. And counting of votes, as you've seen, will be done by Jen and probably Rana. Thank you, Thank you, Jen. I'll provide a brief technical overview for Zoom and in-person meeting attendees. One thing is, let us use contemporary technology to our full advantage. Unlike some places where they ask you not to use your phone, we welcome using your phone. It would help the business of the meeting. If you're participating in person, it's perfectly acceptable to use your phone or other device like an iPad or whatever. Have it open during the meeting. This can be especially helpful if you have difficulty hearing, in which case you might want to log into Zoom for the audio and using earbuds or a headset that you can listen to your preferred volume. Or if you have difficulty seeing what's up on the display screen, again, you may open that via Zoom and then zoom in on your phone or other device. And also use your phone to look up relevant information if you think that would be helpful to our consideration. Democratic rules of order is what we use in these meetings. There's a link provided in the agenda that you can get those. There are also hard copies back on the table in the corner. You can borrow one for the meeting, or if you really want to be diligent and study it in between meetings, you're welcome to take one also. Please raise your hand to speak to a motion or to participate in open discussion, and then lower your hand after you've been recognized or you no longer wish to speak. Also, when we take votes, if you vote yes, for instance, and we've counted them, then be sure to lower your hand so we don't get confused. The first time you're recognized to speak, please identify yourself by name. It's especially important for people making motions or seconding that we get your full name for the minutes. For Zoom attendees, if you signed on with anything other than your first and last name, please change it to your first and last name to avoid confusion. If you're participating remotely, sign on with a phone or your computer, but not both. Stay muted unless you're speaking on Zoom so we can know who you are. Please be advised that questions on chat may not be answered, but if someone wishes to take on that task of speaking for the person chatting, they're welcome to do that. Are there any questions about any of that? Skim it over. Very well, we'll open with a reading of the land acknowledgement. Diane Emerson is generously offered to read that for us.
Please join me in acknowledging the Coast Salish people. The land we occupy today is their ancestral land. For thousands of years, they lived on it, stewarding its resources with care and wisdom. Today, with gratitude, we acknowledge them and their elders, past, present, and emerging, and we recognize that this land remains a vital part of their cultural sovereignty.
Thank you very much, Diane. A few brief words about rules of conduct also. The council is committed to conducting its meetings in a civil, respectful, and courteous manner. We expect all participants to demonstrate common courtesy and respect toward fellow islanders and guests. As we continue to build our new council, we're dedicated to creating a safe and healing space to address our shared interests. So rudeness or personal criticism, ridicule, including online chat contributions, are just not acceptable and will not be tolerated. Please keep your remarks focused on the issues, not on the individuals. Please ensure that everyone has had a chance to speak before you ask to speak a second time or again. As I said, only members can vote. We participate in good faith voting, meaning that you're trusted to vote and make motions, second motions to make amendments, only if you're a Vashon-Maury Community Council member. So, as is our custom, please, let's have a show of hands to demonstrate intent to honor good faith voting and the rules of conduct. Thank you very much. We're here because we're stronger together. Our first formal order of business will be finalize the minutes of the previous council meeting, March 19th, 2026. It's up on the screen. Jen, would you want to hit the high points of that for us, please?
We discussed that road maintenance has a budget of $1.87 million in 2025 compared to the ferry subsidies, which are $4.8 million. We talked about the ferry dock that's going to be rebuilt at Flopple Road. Harry English gave us a presentation. We discussed the motion for no nuclear in Washington and a motion to continue that discussion at this April meeting passed. We talked about the motion to protect marine mammals and that motion passed. We had no new business and a lot of announcements.
Thank you, Jen. Is there a motion to adopt these minutes? Steve, and is there a second? Julie?
First,
Thank you.
sorry, who was the first? Was it mine?
Mike, I'm sorry, Mike. Mike Dawson. I ask you all to bear with me. I've been learning so many names lately and I'm having a little trouble staying on top of them all. So forgive me. Already I've called a couple of people by their own names and I apologize for that. And I'd like to think that's the last time it happened, but I don't think great faith in that. So thank you for your understanding. Is there any discussion for minutes or motion to revise? Very well. Seeing that, all those in favor of adopting the minutes as written, please raise your hand of March 19th, 2026. No, I don't vote.
I get 20. I got 21. Yeah.
Keep your hands up on Zoom, please.
I couldn't see the whole thing.
21 plus 8.
8 on Zoom.
29 again.
29.
And all opposed? Please lower your hands if you voted yes. Hi, Debbie. Glad you could join us tonight. Yes, Selena.
Are there three of those on Zoom or are they left with the phone?
Mary, Mary B, did you vote yes, in which case you should lower your hand, or are you voting no?
I don't know how to lower my hand.
Good. Try clicking on it again.
Oh. No. Sorry. Oh, lower hand. Oh, okay.
Yep, or under
So
more.
let me work on that while we move on. So the motion passes. I might note that as chair, though I raise my hand to contribute to the quorum, I don't customarily vote unless it's a matter of breaking the tie. We'll move on now to finalize the agenda for this council meeting, April 16th, 2026. Please bring that up, Nicole. There you go. We'll be hearing from a couple of us from the Vashon Youth and Family Services for our Island Partner Organization updates. We'll be continuing our consideration of urging King County action to end immigration flights at Thorn Field, and also advocating for safe renewable energy. The floor will also be open for new business. Are there any, may I have a motion to accept this agenda?
I move to accept the agenda.
Ann Anderson, thank you. Is there a second? Seconded, thank you. Is there any discussion or motions to revise it? Julie?
Revise it.
Yes. What is your motion?
I would, excuse me, I'm Julie Brown. I would move to postpone indefinite the motion to end deportation flights at King County International. I can speak briefly to that when it's appropriate. I'm not sure this is the right moment.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's keep it on the agenda and then do that when that comes in.
Quite sure what would work,
Right,
but
right.
it will be brief.
Thank you for foreshadowing that. Sure. Any other discussion or amendments to the agenda? Yeah. All those in favor, please raise your hand. If you raise your hand instead of giving a thumbs up, it kind of helps with our counting. What's the total, please? 47 in favor. Please put your hands down on Zoom. All those opposed? 27-0, the agenda is adopted. Thank you very much. I'm happy now to move on to our Island Partner Organization update. We have two guests from Vashon Youth and Family Services, Gloria Busick, who's the Special Projects Coordinator, and Tiffany Sheriff, Fundraising and Communications Manager. They have a presentation, and invite you to come up. Not sure how you want to do this. Do you want to stand or sit?
Just, oh, I need to see the screen sometimes, so.
I can get you some chairs if you'd like.
Oh, that's really good. No, can I stand to this? Okay. So that's fine. Okay. See people and. Okay. So we're Vashon Youth and Family Services. I'm Gloria Busick. My title just changed, so I'm now the Outreach and Engagement Coordinator. I was the Special Projects Coordinator before, same job. And this is Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany Shira. I am, actually my title changed to Marketing Communications Manager. So we're going to give you a little overview of Vashon Youth and Family Services.
Would you like to sit?
No.
You should. Thank you for being here tonight.
It's me.
Yeah.
So VYFS.
Sorry, you guys are just, can you get a little closer together? Oh. Just a little bit.
Yep, then people can't see the.
So VYFS has been around since 1977. It got its start when a group of activists were sitting around a kitchen table, like many things do, and has developed into what we are today. Our mission, Vashon Youth and Family Services fosters a thriving community of emotionally healthy and resilient children, youth, adults, and families. And we prioritize serving Vashon's most vulnerable populations and communities, particularly those who face systemic barriers to accessing services or belong to groups historically excluded from resources, recovery, and power.
And this is us. VYFS, Vashon Youth and Family Services, has roughly 50 employees on island. Our executive director is Jenny Johnson. We have a wonderful board of directors, and this is a staff photo of most of us, not all of us.
And if anybody is interested in joining a board, we have a small but mighty board, and we are looking for new board members. We'd be happy to talk with you.
These are our programs. We have behavioral health, community outreach and engagement, Vashon Kids, Family Place, and Oasis Community Resource Navigation.
All right, and I'm going to start with behavioral health, which is our sort of flagship program, what we're most well known for, which is counseling, crisis support, and substance use disorder treatment. So that's what we do when we're kind of in our clinic, but then we're also out in the community. We have, in the schools, we have an intense, youth specialized intensive therapist who works with all three schools, kind of does a little bit above what a school counselor can do, well, actually quite a bit above what a school counselor has time and resources to do. They advocate for families and they'll go to meetings and things like that. We have weekly drop-in hours. We have a couple of counselors that go to the Island Center homes every week and provide connections to resources. They've connected people with dental treatments and detox and inpatient recovery services. And one of our counselors also does a radio show on the Voice of Vashon every Tuesday at 1:30 called Adventures in Recovery. So those are just a few of the behavioral health things that we offer.
And then this is community outreach and engagement. This is my main area. We really just focus on fostering belonging and connection on the island. I mostly do the youth side of things. So we facilitate a number of different clubs at McMurray Middle School, including Gender Sexuality Alliance, GSA, weekly. We also help with CHISPA, but we're not the main facilitators for that at McMurray. And we're hoping to add more clubs to both McMurray and Vashon High School. We also have after-school clubs at Orbit Youth Space for middle and high school students, including both a disability justice club and a queer culture club. We also have Adventures with Movies and Emotions, which is our free monthly movie. Have any of you ever been to the free movies at the theater? No. We had one this week. We showed The Hours on Tuesday, and we have free movie, free Mighty Mouse, free pizza, a counselor discussion. We definitely recommend. And next month we're showing Screenagers at the high school. Yes. And then right now we have some community events. We have a Be There campaign focused on community connection overall. We just painted some rocks to look like bees with cute little messages.
Was that today?
No, it was last week, but you can find people are hiding their bee rocks around the community. I hid some in town and noticed that they were gone, and I was very happy because it meant someone found them and took them. And then we also do different youth programming, things at Pride, wellness fairs. Right now, we have a multisensory art show that was a collaboration with Orbit Youth Space that's up at the Heritage Museum. And it was focused all on tactile art, art you can hear, things like that. We did watercolor with spices and tea so you could smell it. Yeah, and we right now are partnering with Kavi also on a sewing queer fashion activity. And we'll have a fashion show at the Pride Street Dance too. So shout out to Kavi. Kavi's up here. Yeah, and we do resource sharing and more. And then Vashon Kids is our school-aged childcare program during the school year. It's before and after school. And in the summer, we have full-time care for 5 to 12-year-olds. It's art, science, theater, literacy, and sports focus. And new this year, we have a theater club, which is really exciting and makes theater more accessible for people who might not have access otherwise. And that's a partnership with the Repertory Theater as well. And I work here sometimes, so if you have questions, let me know. Next.
All right, Family Place. Family Place provides early childhood parenting support for families with young children, from prenatal to kindergarten. So many programs that it's too much to go through, but there's moms groups and dads groups and play groups and in-home parenting support. All the programs are anchored by the 5 protective factors for strengthening families, which are things like support in times of need, understanding child development, social emotional competence, etc. One of the cool things that I've always appreciated about Family Place is just how they respond to the needs kind of in real time of their constituents. There was a group of moms at a play group that wanted to improve their English skills. So Family Place created an English class. So they meet weekly. It's been going on for about 3 years now. There's volunteers that come, and it's kind of basically like a one-on-one almost with the participants and the volunteers, helping these folks improve their English. So, oh, and another new thing that we have now is respite childcare. This is a free service that we're offering. It's 3 days a week for about 3.5 hours. Parents can just drop off their little ones and go run errands, go take a nap, do an appointment, and their children will be in a nurturing environment. Next. Oasis Community Resource Navigation. This is probably the most challenging to explain, but I'll do my best. We have 3 bilingual navigators and our director, Deb. They basically provide personalized guidance to help people get connected to resources. It could be housing, rental assistance, just basic needs, clothing. Patricia specializes in immigrant and refugee services, right? Yes, okay. Healthcare and transportation vouchers for people that need to attend appointments off island, but they can't afford the ferry, so we provide ferry vouchers. And we have we received a new grant from King County, Best Starts for Kids, the Help Me Grow program. They provide family-centered support to island families from pregnancy through kindergarten. And they're kind of liaising with Family Place. So when Family Place identifies something in their program that is a need, they refer to our resource navigators to help those families out. Any questions so far? Yeah.
What kind of, you call your clients, or they clients or fans of families? So what kind of participation are you getting in programs? Families?
Well, from like this program or
Just in general.
in general? Yeah, it's dependent on the program, but counseling, we do about 3,000 counseling sessions, if I'm remembering right. I just did this report. And Patricia, you could maybe speak to the number of people that participate in the community resource navigation.
Well, last year, in the last year, we did 3,270 something services through resource navigation. It could be by phone, home visits, meetings, or during or in our in-person hours. Yeah, we have more than 300 people in the program of the resource navigation Oasis. That's for the medical vouchers, ferry voucher for medical appointments, prescription vouchers, all of that. But if you're not kind of a member of the Oasis program, you can receive any other resources. I can say that we can do everything between download and app to somebody who's not good with technology in their phones, until work with any immigration situation right now that we have right now. We also have, as a part of the community fund that was created for this reason, to help our Latino community on island, and we can help them to pay for work permits, legal assistance. We cannot pay for the legal process, but to do that, we can help them with to get their passports, IDs, any notary services. If they are in a deportation case, we can provide flight tickets. Anything between that. If when the people come to us and they ask us, hey, how can you help me? What do you need? And we will start from there. And so if you don't know, just visit us, ask us, and we will help you.
And for youth programs for the clubs in the schools and after school clubs, since January, we have almost 70 McMurray and VHS students, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's Vashon, and getting middle and high schoolers to show up to things is hard, so I'm happy to find something that we have. I forgot, we brought swag, so thank you for the questionnaires. If anyone else asks a question, they'll get a prize, get a treat. Okay. And when there's something that Patricia and her team are not able to provide, we are connected to the Vashon Social Service Network, which is, I think there are 10 now organizations. You recognize a lot of those organizations from the island that might offer something that we don't. So we don't want to duplicate services, but we meet with them regularly, and we're partners, and we've applied for grant funding together and then distributed it based on the need among the group. So community members are invited to join those meetings also. They're the last Tuesday of odd numbered months. Super easy to remember. Yeah. So, okay. So for a journal, who can name one of our programs? I guess it's Family Place. Thank you. Good job. Good job. This is the part where we say thank you, ask if you have questions.
All right.
Thank you for the work you're doing. You have a huge staff. Paid,
Yeah, yes, we're all paid.
what kind of budget?
Just did this today, I just forgot to keep it even short. Our people are about 75% of our plan. Yeah.
I'm curious about the new Thunderbird connection. That place not open yet, you already got some sort of.
So they're a member of the Vashon Social Service Network. So those organizations that you mentioned, Doug, the Senior Center, Vashon Hospital, those organizations. So we all come together once a month and just talk about community issues and how we can solve problems.
Oh, and the Thunderbird people are already.
Yes, yes.
Tiffany, will the report you're working on be publicly available?
It will. I will be, I might email it out to everybody. The community, like the book. Everybody. Oh, yeah, can you email? Email. Yeah.
I have another question.
Yeah.
What do you need from us,
Oh.
the people of Vashon?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you.
Do I get another mug?
We love volunteers. You can donate. You can go to our website to donate. I think we had a QR code.
Yeah, it was on the thank you
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah, just, when you see us out in town with our red t-shirts on like Patty's wearing, say hi. And if you know somebody that needs support, send them our way. You
You can also just come to events because grant funders like to see that people are coming.
Yeah, we did, the lead stage at the Strawberry Festival for the last couple of years. This was a really fun event. Anybody want a t-shirt? Just looks like you.
She's
I'm gonna upside down.
Lori, what are the free movies that you mentioned? Are they held on a regular basis?
The dates are different every month, because it's whenever we can get a day at the theater or wherever we're doing it. But we do post it online and we put flyers around town. I can start letting you all know also in the
Okay,
updates.
thank you. Well, when you say,
Yeah.
when you post it online, it's on Vashon Youth and Family Services website?
Yes,
Okay,
and Facebook.
okay, great. Thank you guys so much. I'll give a very brief introduction to the rules of procedure. Again, for those who have more recently joined us, there are copies of democratic rules of order on the table in the corner if you would like to avail yourself with this. Some of you may be familiar with Robert's Rules of Order, and the democratic rules of order are more simplified. It follows the same basic idea of making motions and making amendments. But in the democratic rules of order, there's only one amendment under consideration at a time. That is to say, there are no amendments of amendments. There's a resource we put together in the back of the agenda. It's called Want to Advocate for Change, Make a Motion in the VMCC. And part of what that highlights is there are lots of things we can do as a council other than just making a motion for a majority vote. You can ask to discuss something or to honor someone or some sympathy to someone or create a committee or refer something to a committee. There's a long list of things that we can do to raise and consider issues that are important to our community. I also want to distinguish between points of order and points of information. Points of order are questions or complaints about the procedure, and those could be only raised by someone who's a member. That is, who's joined, has received an acknowledgement email from Debbie Jackson. It might be something like, you skip part of the agenda, or like some mistake I've made, or it could be a complaint about we're supposed to always keep good order. It could be a complaint that good order is not being kept and you don't like that or anything. And customarily, if there's a point of order, I'll make an initial determination, but then someone on the council can always move to overturn that, and if it's seconded, then we'll consider that as a motion. The ultimate authority for, as in all things, rests in the hands of the council. It's not me, it's not the board. This is an activist council organization, and the council has the ultimate authority. Guests who are not members are welcome to participate in the discussion, and while they can't raise points of order, which is a formal process, they can raise points of information that I can at my discretion recognize, and usually will. If they're confused or would like some clarification, or they want to know if someone knows anything about a certain particular that we're discussing, that would be fine. So if you're a guest, you can rise to a point of information, and also members can rise to points of information just to help keep things flowing smoothly and understandably for everyone. Dan?
Point of information.
Yes, what is?
Share with people how easy it is to become a member and who can become a member.
Well, anyone who's at least 18 and a resident of Vashon-Maury Island can become a member by going to our website. There's a straightforward form to fill out. It's free. You submit the form, and then you'll hear back from Debbie Jackson. And once you do, you're a member. Welcome to me.
Forever.
Thanks, Dan. It's also possible to sign up for our mailing list and not be a member. If you would prefer to do that, or if you're not a resident of the island. Any other questions? Very well, we'll move on to old business. And the first order of old business having to do with urging King County action to end immigration flights at Bloomfield. I recognize Julie Brown.
I would like to move to postpone this motion indefinitely.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Diane Emerson seconded. Would you speak to why you wish to do that, please?
Yes, on March 24th, the Metropolitan King County Council voted to update the county code with respect to descriptions of public land, what is public and non-public land in King County, and this has particular bearing on the airport. The airport has an unusual legal situation, and so the county, it's hard to explain because it's like a double negative. The county excluded the airport from consideration, basically, for shutting down flights. And it kind of puts the period on the whole issue. This was a meeting that lasted over 5.5 hours. They went in and out of executive session. There was a tremendous amount of very sadly, I thought, there were people protesting at the meeting, and their time for speaking was cut in half because there were so many people there to speak about ending the deportation flights. And yet, rather than try to find a way to extend the meeting for their sake, they went into recess, and then they went in and out of executive session for another several hours. I listened to the whole thing, and I never heard this particular point raised to the public about how the county airport would be excluded. But it showed up in the text of the change in the code. It wasn't very transparent. It does, in my mind, put an endpoint on what we're going to get from the county. People, activists in the community, particularly La Resistencia, have been fighting this since 2019 at least. The county just isn't going to budge, probably because they really don't have the power. The story is not over. We will be continuing up the ladder and trying to get the Attorney General's office to work on this issue. And there is a group of people within, I think this was Vashon, not just on the island, but in other chapters, who are trying to come together to get something to happen at the Attorney General's office. He's done a lot of good work, both individually and his office and in coalition with other states. So we hope to get some help on this. It's just a really tricky situation and a very, very scary time. So thank you for understanding. I appreciate that from this group.
Thank you for raising this to our consideration to begin with, Julie, and for tracking what's going on with that. Are there, I'm going to handle questions and statements the same way. Would anyone like to be recognized for a question to Julie or any discussion of this matter? Yes, Jill?
No, this is something that King County is doing as one of their Arlen Municipal Airport. Is that what you're talking about?
No, King County International Airport. Some people know it's Falling Field.
Oh, okay.
The immigration flights, deportation flights, have been going on private charter jets out of the airport now since 2012. Under different administrations, but it's under the current administration that flights have been increasing rapidly. Last year it was 2 times a week, now it's 3 times a week. The number of people leaving on these flights has tripled in a year. And we need to remember that these are flights taking place after illegal abductions have taken place. There is no due process, and there's grave concern about what's happening on the flights. People are shackled with waists, ankles. In an emergency, no one is going to be able to be evacuated, and the FAA is doing nothing about it. There's a lot of reason to go to a place that may have some power, and I'm thinking that's the King County, because of an old agreement, post-World War II, King County has to let the federal government use its airport for deportation flights. I was there last night protesting the flights. So many people who work at the airport hate that this is happening. But when Dow Constantine attempted to stop the flights in 2019, the DOJ under Trump, this was Trump, the last 9 months of this first administration, sued them, and they lost on appeal. So the county's been burned once. They don't want to be burned twice. And truthfully, this is a situation that's so unprecedented in this country that we need someone like the Attorney General to use, something like state sovereignty against this privacy laws. It's a bigger legal issue now. And because the airport has become the hub of deportation for the entire state now, it is very important to make the state aware that we have an issue here in South King County. I hate to take time from other really important emotions on here. I'd be happy to speak with you after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Julie, I'd like to make sure that I understand what you said, that customarily the county can stop flights going out from airports, but they made an exception for Boeing Field so that they can't do that now. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's a strange thing throughout this issue where activists have been pushing the airport to limit ICE access, really strangle the mechanism that allows these illegal deportation flights to occur. The county's given a little each time, but the county legally is bound by an old agreement with the federal government federal government can use the airport whenever it wants. So the wording, the new wording in Title II of the county code is like, all these places are non-public land in the county. ICE is not allowed to go there to stage abductions, except, and that's how they used it, with the exception of the airport.
I see.
So it reads like a double negative, and you have to wrap your head around why would non-public land be, why can't they just say, if it's non-public land or public land, they can say whatever they want, but they can't. The airport's got a special legal status, and that status was established when the airport was being used to fight fascism in Europe. I think the really sad irony, and possibly the basis of the legal case, is we're not fighting fascism in Europe any longer. We're fighting it here.
Or did it become, wasn't it private land property of Mr. Boeing?
William Boeing?
Yeah.
Well, he established the airport, exactly the airport.
Thank you, Julie. Is there further discussion or questions? Doug?
Yeah, what is the position of our elected representative in this regard, particularly for Vashon?
You're looking at Camilla Jayapal?
No, she's a congressperson. I'm talking about Dean County.
That's a very hard thing to get from them. I spoke to the director of the airport at length last night. He's not an elected official. They're not going to say, they like your Ms. Amelie has said, he's very sympathetic, He put out an executive order in February. This vote was intended to codify that. And our county council representative, Teresa Mosqueda, is very sympathetic. She works with Laura Asistencia very closely. She is very sympathetic. The moment they put anything in the code that says we're canceling flights, they're going to have Trump on them. They're going to have the DOJ on them. It's happened once before. They know what thin ice they're on. Val Constantine was sued personally along with them. And they lost in district court, federal district court, and they lost on appeal to the Ninth Circuit. It's not worth it to the county. The county lacks the resources. The county lacks the power. They're trying to get people to understand that. And I am not a politician enough to understand why that can't just be said to people who literally do not have the power. And why the county cannot on its own reach out to the state. I don't know what's behind that. So we're going to reach out to the state.
Lynn?
I just have one other clarifying question for you. Would the issue not be that these are illegal, non-judicial,
Yes, that is the issue.
unconstitutional
That is the issue.
flights?
That is the issue.
That no judge could accept some kind of a, I don't want to say class action suit, but would the venue be in the courts as opposed to in the county?
Absolutely. We're asking for, the county's finished. There will be nothing in the county. Okay, it's done. We need to take this to a federal court. Yeah. It's the government.
I'd like to call a question.
Well, that's not quite how it works. Well, I'll move to a vote, and it seems like the discussion's completed. Is there further discussion on this?
I would just like to ask Julie, is you coming back and reporting to us on a regular basis, or now?
I would love to. There is so much important work happening here. I don't want to take time for other important issues, but I'm happy to report if there's a way to do that. But yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schnell, did you have something?
Yes, I just want to know, American citizens have social security numbers, where identified via numbers. Are these people that are in our country as immigrants, legal or not, do they have any kind of an identification number?
Often it doesn't, it doesn't seem to matter in this case.
Okay. And are there any properties or facilities that ICE can use? So you're making an issue out of the airport. Like that's public property, and ICE can't use that or for some whatever reason. But what can be used?
ICE can use the King County International Airport, they're allowed to. What ICE is doing now is using private property more and more. They're renting private facilities from places like the Saving Corporation to have stadiums and possibly hold for holding people before they are taken to detention or outright deported. All of this is illegal. Private property owners can do that, but as soon as the public finds out about it, it doesn't really look good for their businesses. Saving Corporation was a big one there. The fact is that, I think it's hard to get people to understand that they don't really care what they do. They're not interested in abiding by the law. So we have to be willing to do more than say, my gosh, we have to fight this through our systems that are still functioning, and we have to fight it on the ground. A great way to fight it is by putting pressure on private business like the Saving Corporation, putting pressure on the fixed-based operators like Signature and I'm blanking on the other ones. Signature's out of it because that was Bill Gates, and he was pressured, and he's no longer writing Signature at the airport. Pressure does work, but it we're in a really bad situation, and anyone can do.
Michael, do you have something you want to say?
JC, I just wanted to bring up the subject of the microphones. Is it possible for us to start using them, like when people are speaking in the back of the room? Because when I was attending this meeting at home, without the use of the microphones, I had a really hard time hearing the people that were in the back of the room.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I'd hope that we'd be able to use them tonight. It's presented a technical challenge to have a dual audio stream, so we can both use the desktop microphone and also these microphones. I thought we were going to be able to do that tonight, but it did not work out. We'll keep working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We believe they should work, and yet they are not. Is there further discussion on this? Very well. The motion is to postpone indefinitely, the original motion in light of what's transpired at King County level. All those in favor of postponing indefinitely, please raise your hand. Please bring it to the list that has the total. Thank you.
Yeah.
21 plus 9 is 30. There was 9. You can lower your hands now on Zoom, please. All those opposed? Do you see anybody? Is there the total, Jen?
30-0.
30 to 0, motion passes and it's postponed indefinitely. The original motion is postponed indefinitely. Thank you again, Joe. We'll now move on to the matter of, it used to be no nuclear, the name has been changed to advocating for safe renewable energy. And I'll turn it over to Kevin Jones, who has a presentation prepared to brief us further on this subject.
Thanks, JC. There's some information if you're interested. This is fundamental problems with the new proposal for nuclear energy, which is relevant to the conversation today. And this is a declaration passed by the Washington State Democratic Campaign Committee in response to one of the pieces of legislation that I'll be discussing. We jump right in, or you want to follow along? You mind if I stand? I'll be able to see the slides better this way. So whenever you're ready, Nicole. Okay, thanks. If you were here last month, we recognized that the motion that you're going to see tonight had nothing to do with banning nuclear energy in Washington State. So just want to get that clarified right away. Next slide, please. What we are doing is responding to what happened in the legislature this year, where elected officials supported using tax dollars to support an industry which has a history of failures due to cost overruns, catastrophic physical plant failures, increasing cancer risks, and lowering life expectancies. And the concern is that other legislation introduced this session would transfer any of those cost risks to ratepayers. Even if some of those electricity generation facilities never produced an electron, we would, as ratepayers, nonetheless have to pay for the construction of failed utility. And so the proposal here is that we want to let our legislators know that our tax dollars, we would really like to devote to safe, effective, and reliable energy systems that are aligned with our values. The next slide talks about our values. And those are like clean air and water, reliable, resilient, sustainable, equitable, affordable, and healthy for the planet. And some of those values mean non-polluting. Reliable means they work regularly, they don't break down. Passive energy collectors like solar and wind are much less complicated than gas peaker plants or coal plants, which have a tendency to fail on a more regular basis. But some of the others I think are just fairly resilient, like distributed. There's no one single point of failure, like solar panels on people's roofs and batteries in people's cars or in people's garages. So in terms of what we want, or what I'm proposing, I think most of us want, are the things on the left, and therefore we look for products like on the right. Next slide, please, Nicole. So what we are talking about here is whether or not renewable energy can serve our needs. And there's a couple of things that are, I think, pretty interesting. In California, this is a day in the life, March 29th of this year, of the energy sources that serve the load in California. And that yellow, not surprisingly, is solar. Of course, in Southern California, we get a lot of sun that shines pretty regularly. Even at sunset, 71% of their energy came from renewable sources, either biogas or batteries or hydro or things like that. And you can see the batteries and how much load they carried. The other piece here is imported. It's probably hydro. It's probably hydro from Bonneville Dam, most likely. But you can see that solar has a tremendous ability to basically serve the needs during the day and quite a bit overnight. In another example, in Australia, they will soon offer 3 hours of free power per day in many portions of Australia, because they have enough renewable energy that when the sun is shining there, or they had windmills, when the wind was blowing, they have so much power, they don't know how to get rid of it. They need to basically encourage people to use the power because it's free, right? It's sun or it's wind. And so
Basically, the 3 hours is up to 24 kilowatt hours of free electricity, about what a 5-person household would consume in a day. So when we think about what we want our legislature to do, when we look at what's happening in other places, the question is, do we want that? Next slide. So renewable energy sufficiency. This is a fellow named Jim Lazar that I know, and few people in this room know who Jim Lazar is. You know, Michael does for sure. He's basically an energy democracy fellow at the Institute for Energy Democracy. He also lives in Olympia. He says China is building about 1,000 megawatt of solar per day, 1,000 of wind per week, and 1,000 megawatts of battery storage per week. That's what they're producing, regular basis. If the US matched China for 1 year, all these things we hear about data centers, covered. All that covered. And a quarter of the fossil fuel energy in this country would be covered. Just 1 year, if we kept up with China in terms of their production. And after 4 years, all the fossil fuel energy in this country would be replaced with renewable energy. Okay, that's from a fellow at the Institute for Energy Democracy. He says it's not a technological problem, it's a political problem. Next slide. So there are a lot more things that our legislature can do. David Vogel, who's one of the first presidents of this council when it restarted, has property on the island, not far from my house. And he would love to put a community solar installation there, but the state law doesn't let him do that. Okay, there's another property owner who was just neighbors with Debbie Jackson, who would also like to put in a community solar farm. Can't do it. Other things like plug-in solar. Renters have a heck of a time getting solar panels on the roof of their apartment building because they don't own the building. But if they have a balcony, they have a window, plug in solar panels. That's not legal in the state of Washington right now. The Vashon Center for the Arts, right? Big installation right now. You read about it in the Beachcomber. You also maybe read in there in the article by Pat Call that they can only put 100 kilowatts of solar on any 1 meter. Well, fortunately, they have 2 meters, so they can put more pieces. There's more roof up there, right? They can put more panels up. But there's a limitation that maybe the legislature can remove. Net metering, this is when you put solar panels on your roof and you get paid for the energy you produce. Only 4% of the utility's maximum production are they required to pay you for the energy you produce. PSC has already hit that limit. So out of their good graces, they're still paying people to have rooftop solar, but they don't have to. And it's not clear how long they'll have to. And what happened, the Solar Energy Industry Association said, wow, our whole business is going to basically hit the skids if we hit those limits. So these are things the legislature can do. Longer duration batteries, I mentioned this cost in Australia, and then other things like geothermal and tidal, which we don't have. Next slide, please. Instead, these are the 3 bills we get. So this one passed, millions of dollars in property tax breaks, despite the fact that the state has a major budget crunch. This bill passed. It will allow for nuclear fuel projects to be built. I'll talk about that in the next slide, what that exactly means. But meanwhile, the administration is putting nuclear workers at risk because they are very quietly rolling back protections, right? If you like what the CDC is doing right now, then you'll love what they're doing for solar. For nuclear waste and radiation. They're making it, increasing the levels of exposure that's okay. Let's see, this bill failed. We were able to stop it, although this is the one that shifted the cost of failed nuclear projects to ratepayers. Bad idea. This one we stopped. The reason that I'm here is because our Representative Joe Fitzgibbon was the #2 sponsor of this bill. This bill would have looked at advanced nuclear, basically small modular reactors, in a 9-month study to determine whether they were okay for the state of Washington's energy policy. Interestingly, none of these exist in the country right now. The last two attempts, they failed miserably and shut down because of massive cost overruns. So the idea of doing a 9-month study to determine if these were okay, I do not know what kind of data they'd be looking at, but they're not looking at any data from anything that's actually existing in the country. So I was very concerned about that. Unfortunately, actually 2 legislators decided to pull their name off of sponsorship of that bill once they heard about what it would really do. So these are the kind of things that I'm here tonight to talk to you about. These are the things that I would, next slide please, that I would like for our legislature to not do. Because there's a lot to not like about advanced modular reactors, small modular reactors, or advanced nuclear energy. 2017-23, I mentioned 2 failed attempts in the country. One of them couldn't even get shovels in the ground before they had to shut down because of cost overruns. Much more expensive. So nuclear is much more expensive than wind or solar. The government rollback of safety procedures, I mentioned that, not to mention toxic radioactive waste, which there are no facilities. Oregon doesn't allow nuclear reactors because there's no place to put the waste, which is kind of why they'd like to put them in Washington, because we don't prohibit them. And the data, they would go to Oregon's data centers. And so Amazon would love to have that. They get the money from that. Meanwhile, we take the risk. Remember, if it fails, somebody like us has to pay for it. And oh, by the way, if it causes your house to have nuclear or sort of radiation, causes a problem with your house or your health, your insurance does not cover that. There's actually an act I can talk about in the details there to prohibit that. And the tribes don't want it. Let's see, I'm going to talk about this weapons grade on the next slide. So this is something called high-assay low-enriched uranium fuel, which is HALEU, and 2 projects for Eastern Washington. Higher risk of nuclear proliferation because they're basically, where is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah, thanks. Could be used directly in a nuclear explosive device. Okay, and you can see what the Union of Concerned Scientists said. Higher risk of nuclear proliferation. World Nuclear Association recommending strict security measures. But the proposal would be this fuel in small modular reactors that can go anywhere. They're small. They're not huge. They can build them, put them in some place, and start generating electricity. Meanwhile, highly reactive, highly enriched fuel could be used in a nuclear device. You can imagine the terrorists who would love to get their hands on that and the security challenges that go with it. So a lot of bad ideas come along with this. Next slide, please. The tribes, both the Yakima and the Umatilla, oppose this. They are in Eastern Washington. They've suffered all the challenges of Hanford. They do not want more nuclear waste polluting the groundwater. And affecting basically their tribal sovereignty and their use of the land. Next slide, please. So here's the motion. Vashon-Maury Islanders want a safe, affordable, timely, non-emitting, reliable, and sustainable energy. The permitting and build time delays, affordability failures, and health risks from physical plant failures and dangerous radioactive waste leave nuclear energy systems failing to deliver on all but the non-emitting of those aspirations. The preferred safe, affordable, timely, non-emitting, reliable, and sustainable energy generation systems are the same ones we know are proven today, like wind and solar and geothermal. So therefore, the Community Council, through this motion passed by a majority of council members assembled, calls upon our King County Council, our elected state and federal legislators, and our governor to reject any and all tax preferences, subsidies, policies, and legislation which expand the nuclear energy industry in Washington state. It doesn't say that you can never build them. It says we do not want our taxpayer dollars going to subsidize them. That's what we're asking. And the idea is the legislature is going to get together again in January of next year. These same bills are going to come before them. This idea is to tell our legislators what we want. What's our preference? Do we want our money going to tax breaks to produce highly enriched nuclear fuel that can be used directly in an explosive device. If you think that's a good idea, then you should vote no. If you don't see that as the right future, I ask for your support for the motion. Next slide is just a summary that renewable energy has tons of benefits. Nuclear has a lot of baggage. So tell our legislators that we really prefer our tax dollars support that safe and reliable system that we know can really serve our needs. And in Australia, overserving. That's all I have prepared.
Thank you very much. This motion was moved and seconded last month, and so we can consider it tonight and potentially vote on it tonight. I'll recognize people for either questions or statements and discussion of this matter. Yes.
I apologize, I'm late, I had a certain meeting across the way.
That's okay. Hi, glad you could join us, Greg.
Was thorium brought up as an alternative nuclear energy? You're just speaking of uranium, I know that came up, and maybe it's not relevant, but thorium is definitely a different. Breeder reactors are radically different than what you're speaking about. They do not produce plutonium. They do not produce fusionable material.
Yeah, what we are talking about with this motion is a request to our legislators next session. I don't see a thorium nuclear reactor on the horizon for another several decades.
Actually, there is one being developed right now in Montana.
Yes. Is it operational?
It's coming online, yes.
It's not operational. So, it's not currently operational.
But this speaks to the issue of research to going further some elements of nuclear energy. And you're absolutely right about the problems that we have with the light water reactors, which are seriously flawed.
Yeah, this motion does not say that we will not have nuclear energy in this country. Far from it. All it says is that it's a preference. What we would like is our tax dollars to go to systems that are reliable, clean, renewable, sustainable, and don't carry some of the challenges of radioactive waste, higher costs. The fact that the cost of nuclear, based on the czar's levelized cost of energy, is anywhere from 4 to 5 times higher. And if you create a nuclear energy system, it's not dispatchable. You can't turn it on and off right away. It has to run all the time because you can't just shut those plants down on a whim. And so what that means is that higher cost of energy, we have to pay for it all the time because that's how it would be used. So in terms of the long run, the question is, what do we prefer? And so it's a great question about there's different technologies, no doubt. But this issue of this motion is what do we prefer in terms of where our tax dollars go. Hope that helps.
Thanks. Yes, at the back. I'm not sure your name.
My name's Dennis Drews.
Dennis,
I've been working with Kevin a bit on this issue, and the thorium thing was brought up last month, so I went and did a little bit of research. I'm not an expert on it or anything, but they built one in Germany in the 80s. Now it's kind of dated, probably. Things have probably progressed from there, but the research I did said they planned to have this plant go on for quite a while, but it only ran for like 4 years, and in that time only came up with 423 full load operating days, and 80 incidents were logged in that time. They had a release about the same time as Chernobyl, and it was difficult to determine what the increase was, but some of the increase there was from this release from their plant. So it operated far less than it was expected to. It never reached the required availability of 70%. And then more recently, 2013 to 2017, 23 million euros were budgeted for lighting, safeguarding, and storage of the pellets in the interim storage facility there in Germany from this plant that closed down in 89. And they determined that dismantling would begin approximately 30 years after safe enclosure. So after the plant closes down, you still got to watch it for 30 years before you can even start decommissioning it. So I mean, there probably are other technologies that work, but why don't we go for some that we know work better right off the bat and are much less polluting and problematic.
Thank you for the information, Dennis.
Virginia.
Oh, yes, please, go ahead, Jimmy.
Thank you. Last year, the Trump administration worked with the nuclear industry to secretly eliminate numerous nuclear safety regulations. This process was overseen by a 31-year-old lawyer with no significant experience in nuclear policy or nuclear law. This secret group slashed hundreds of pages of requirements for nuclear safety systems, and they loosened protections for groundwater and the environment. They also cut back on requirements for record keeping and raised the amount of radiation a worker can be exposed to. The Trump administration is promoting nuclear energy at the same time that they are reducing safety. For example, they have extended the operating license for an aging nuclear power plant in California that was scheduled to be closed in 3 years, partly because the reactor vessel is embrittled. The Trump administration exempted it from an independent safety review and issued an operating license to keep it open, not just for the next 3 years, but until the year 2045. Now is not the time for more expensive, risky nuclear power around the globe. Now is the time to use nuclear power that is generated 93 million miles away by installing inexpensive solar panels and batteries. Oh, and windmills, because the sun also creates the winds, and it does all this for us for free. It's very cheap. I say vote yes for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Selena?
Hi, this is actually, I'm Selena's daughter, but I just like to address about the.
Tell us your name, please.
Oh, Ella.
Hi, Ella. Thank you for joining us. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just about the power plant that Virginia was just talking about. So I went to Cal Poly, which is right next to it, and got a mechanical engineering degree. And I've toured that power plant. I know multiple people that work there. And talking to them, there's like 7 factors of safety of, with, you could have a 7.0, 8.0 earthquake, and there's like 4 different ways to shut down the reactor. I think it is very safe. And, I went and saw the camera gear and all the pictures they take of the cement containment domes. I do think that the safety concerns of nuclear power are overblown by disasters like Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island. But I actually recently read a Department of Energy statistic that said working at a nuclear power plant as a career, statistically, it'll take 12 days off your life. Being an unmarried male will take 3,500 days off your life. Smoking a pack a day will take slightly less than that. So I oppose this motion because I do think nuclear is very promising. It has challenges, but I think it needs to be given a little more time to develop the small modular reactors to just see what it can do, because it is so promising and it is scalable, which is hard to come across as far as renewable energy.
Thank you for the first-hand report and for sharing your views with us. I appreciate it. Yes, please.
Allison, as a just curiosity point, what's the capitalist spin on nuclear promoting it versus wind or solar?
The capitalist
And
state,
why are they trying to, I mean, it seems
like what is the motivation
Yes,
of preferring nuclear? Can you address that?
We see our current administration talking about taking the oil. We see what's going on in Iran. By far the most affordable energy is renewable energy. Actually, the cheapest is conservation. And so if we go down the path where we tie ourselves again to a couple of things. One is that we need to continue to go find fuel to feed the energy system, right? Then somebody's going to earn a profit on it. But with wind and solar, you build it once and it's there. You have to maintain it, but you don't have to feed it. And so I think that from my perspective, there's like a lower return on investment for the corporate owners. When I think that as the oil and gas industry is reducing and investors are seeing that that's not a good place to invest because wind and solar are way cheaper. I think, I'm speculating here, but I think they're trying to find the next big windfall of energy sales that they can get. And nuclear would definitely be one because it's complicated, the plants have to be maintained, the waste has to be dealt with. All of that we would be charged for. And again, our question here is what do we want our legislature to do? We certainly don't want our legislature, in my opinion, to say if any of those things fail, that we're on the hook to pay for it. Not the people who own the company. We, the ratepayers, have to pay for it. And so again, I want to come back to this. The issue here is what's our preference for going forward?
Thank you, Kevin, Michael.
So two topics I wanted to talk about. One is the fact that in the last 15 years, over 469 renewable energy projects have been proposed and wanting to connect up to the grid in the Northwest. And the amount of power that they can produce is about 5 times more than the projected needs for the Northwest. So we've already got applications and projects ready to get going that could provide way more energy than what we'll need. And just to keep it short, I'll cut it short on that part of it. By the way, I have a 5-page document, and I think I asked Nicole to put my name and email on the chat. So if people wanted to get a copy of this, I have links to documentation for everything I'm saying. So the other thing I want to talk about is batteries. So lithium-ion batteries are the main kind of batteries now used in utility systems. And they can discharge for 2 to 6 hours. But there's a huge number of other types of storage coming online that are being used, that are being put in production that can discharge for 10 to 12 hours. Some that can discharge for 24 hours. But the game changer is iron air batteries that can discharge for 4 days. 4 days of storage. It's a total game changer in this whole arena of renewable energy. 2 other quick points I wanted to make. One is that we are part of a grid. We're connected to 11 states and 2 Canadian provinces. So during the day, there are plenty of places where the sun probably is shining. And throughout the day, there are plenty of places where the wind will be blowing that could provide energy into that grid that we're a part of. So that helps to deal with that, the argument that people say, well, the sun doesn't always shine or wind doesn't always blow. Well, it's shining or blowing somewhere in the grid that we're connected to. Another thing is that a major study was done by Jerry McKenzie, which is probably world's authority on energy. And they looked at the whole idea of storage, of batteries and storage for energy. And they found that 90% of the time, all around the world, typically the 2 to 8 hour storage systems that we already have, 90% of the time, they can provide what we need. And it's only on average about 10 days a year where you need it to be longer than that. But as I just said, we have a variety of storage systems coming into place, being put in place in California, in Europe, in Minnesota. That one type of system that I talked about that can go for 100 hours, there's a major project being built in Minnesota that will make use of that. So I think I'll stop for now to leave time for other people to talk. But again, if people want a copy of this online, I hope my name and email are in there. And if you're in the room and you want a copy, I have my card with my email.
Thank you very much, Michael. Please provide that information to Jen and we'll make sure to include that.
And it's in the voice chat. Put it there at the beginning of the meeting. For everyone.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, it's on the text chat.
There's something in text.
Yeah.
Oh, you put that in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Back in the corner, I can't even see who it is there. Oh, yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jen Huntley, and I'm here to talk about the wait time that investing in in the nuclear is going to take away from our renewable future. I moved here to Vashon Island 9 years ago from 25 years in the state of Nevada. That's important because Nevada is really, really famous for something other than gambling, and that is the atomic test site and the affiliated Yucca Mountain proposed nuclear waste storage facility, which over 50 years ago was going to be the answer to our nuclear future, and it is still mothballed. And so when people talk about the safety of nuclear energy, they're only talking about one piece, which is this reactor that is only adding 12 hours, or taking 12 days away from a worker's life. They're not talking about the waste. Hanford has waste sitting in leaking containers that were approved for 25 years of storage 50 years ago, right? And there's no place for those things to go. There's no place for the waste that we have now from the nuclear testing and the nuclear energy that has been produced over the last 60 years. So we don't have it now. We cannot consciously add more to that pile without a place to store it. And there is no place to store it. I can tell you, I was not in the middle, but I was in Nevada during all of the political issues around Yucca Mountain. And if Yucca Mountain in the atomic test site in a state that nobody cares about and people who nobody cares about isn't going to succeed, it's not going to succeed anywhere in this country. The second thing that Nevada used to be famous for over 100 years ago was a thing called a stock swindle. And this, I think, speaks to your question about capitalism. Stock swindle was a fake mine somewhere in Nevada that went on the market on the East Coast, and gullible people on the East Coast bought stock in these fake mines and lost gazillions of dollars, and other people made money. And it seems to me like this is a lot like a stock swindle. It's an unproven technology. It's a technology that may or may not ever come online. It's extremely expensive, as Kevin was noticing. And there are people out there who are floating this investment, including members of the Trump family and other people affiliated with them. And so I think it's one thing for a gullible individual person to purchase a stock. It's a completely different thing for a representative in the legislature to do with taxpayer money. And the third thing I just want to say is $1 billion a day. $1 billion a day is what our fossil fuel dependence is costing us right this very minute. But when you amortize that out to what our children and our grandchildren are going to have to pay for this incredibly insane war We could, in a year, completely divest ourselves of petrochemicals, and we could go completely renewable. The technology exists, the methodology exists, other countries are doing it, other states are doing it. Washington is right there ready to do it. And this is just distraction. It's a bright, shiny object. We're famous for loving new technological things, moving fast and breaking things and all of this stuff. But it's stupid. We're also famous for being a little bit smarter than that. And I think that's really what this comes down to for me. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jamie. At this point, I would like to know if there's anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to the motion. Yes, Laura?
Yes. My ex-husband says that we can shoot nuclear waste into the sun. Expensive enough.
Oh yeah, no, it's 22. All you need is.
Noted. Was there another hand over there? Yes, right now I'm recognizing people who wish to speak against the motion because I want to be sure those views are represented. Yes, sir? Yes.
Yeah, I'm Stuart Trouble, work with the Kevin project. I have a couple of points. One point is that they're called small modular. What that implies is that every data center in the United States could conceivably have a small modular nuclear device. Potentially then would be producing waste at all these sites that would have to be transported to someplace for disposal. One also implies is that could be a lot of opportunities for some nefarious person to go steal some of this highly reactive material, weapons grade material. That's one point. The other point is that France legislature just passed, I don't know how long ago, a regulation law that is going to require parking places that have more than 80 spaces to be covered like backs, not backs, what are they? With solar sails. So, but yeah, we're not doing that kind of stuff. Second, and then part of that also is that researchers in Spain have actually been looking at a coating that could be applied to a solar cell that would convert the potential energy of a raindrop when it hits to electrical energy. So, and and I did see where MIT and a couple other places in the United States are also looking at that.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against this motion? I'm asking because we've exceeded the time set aside for this, and I'm trying to gauge if there's anyone who really opposes this and wishes to have a vote. Rob, do you wish to speak in opposition to the motion?
No, I'm enthusiastically pro.
Okay, well, just hold on, and I'd like to see if we can come to a vote on this and finish it up tonight or not.
Looks like Selena says hands up.
Is anyone, Selena, Ella, would you like to say something brief?
Just briefly to address the waste issue. And I should say I'm actually in the Navy. I start nuclear power school in 2 weeks to be on a submarine. But obviously nothing I say is representative of the Department of the Navy or the Department of Defense. But just to address the waste, I think, as I understand it, the Yucca Mountain was mainly canceled because of politics and people not wanting it near them, not necessarily because of the actual feasibility of the waste. I think one thing people don't necessarily realize is the actual volume of high level waste is very low. So there's over the last 60 years, I think it's like all the high level waste produced could be put on a football field with like a 10-meter depth, and that's over 50 years or 60 years. And then the other thing is that it can be buried and contained. There's actually a natural uranium reaction in Gabon, Africa, and over billions of years, it's only spread a few meters. So it's not because I don't care about the people, living near Yucca Mountain. I think that the waste can be contained properly. It's more of a fear that's developed around nuclear.
Thank you, Ella. Rob?
Yeah, I'd just like to respond to that. The Fukushima Daiichi plant back in, I don't know, 15 years ago, the cost to clean that up is estimated, many of the estimates are $1 trillion. That is, they're hoping to get that done by 2050. This issue about it being a small volume is totally irrelevant. What is relevant is the cost of containing that for a significant, for a sufficient period of time that it's not harmful to the environment. And if you look at the vitrification project for nuclear weapons waste that's going on at Hanford, you'll find that it is tens of billions of dollars, and they're only starting to get that done. So the issue of that not being a problem is just simply not the case. It is a huge burden for the future, and any cleanup of a major nuclear accident is only partial. There's a radioactive burden that will persist for thousands of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Debbie, would you like to say something briefly? We need to keep this short now. Debbie?
She's behind, you're muted.
You're muted, Debbie.
Okay, sorry. Hey, I just want to say follow the money. As if I understand it right, the motion isn't a debate about the pros and cons of nuclear, that it
That's correct. The motion is about how we choose our tax dollars to extend. I think she.
Debbie, it seems like your feed froze, unfortunately.
I thought she'd ask some questions.
Yeah, but I did take you to say follow the money. I'd like to know if we could move to a vote on this, or does the council feel ready to do that?
Yeah. Yes.
Very well. There seems to be general agreement for us to do that. Now, would you just concisely state the operative clause, please?
Yes, and if you don't mind, I'll say a couple things.
Yes.
The health impacts around uranium mining cause shorter loss of life. So there's multiple health risks and dangers. The other thing about nuclear waste storage, small modular reactors put into Stanford probably they expect will produce more waste per kilowatt hour than conventional reactors. So the problem's getting worse, not better. And the waste isolation pilot plant in New Mexico, where Jen is from, had to be shut down for 3 years due to a small nuclear spill. That was also supposed to be a solution for storage. So again, the gist of the motion is to let our legislators know that our preference for our tax dollars goes to safe, renewable energy. We have systems today that we know that they are safe. We know that we can build to capacity. We know that they are reliable and distributed, and basically then less susceptible to being damaged and less susceptible to us having a catastrophic failure in our energy system. And so basically that's the message in the motion.
Okay. Is that clear to everyone? All those in favor of the motion to let our legislators know that, please raise your hand.
And then Zoom. Well,
How many did you get in the room?
22. Plus
22 plus 12,
be 34.
34 in favor. All those opposed? Please put your hands down on Zoom. All those opposed?
Let's see.
So please keep your hands up to ensure this count. 2 in the room and 1 on Zoom. Is that right, Kevin? 3 opposed? The motion passes. Thank you all very much. And thank you for everyone who provided information and your views. It was a very valuable discussion. We'll move to new business. Is there any new business in the 5 minutes we have left?
I'd like to cycle back to my initial statement. Beginning.
Do you have a motion for new business?
I have a motion that at our next meeting, that a discussion take place concerning access to community council database and how it's used, and to clarify what the rules and regulations are, and to address whatever issue came up at Easter that allowed information to be distributed to 1,000 members of the community council without the approval or the consensus of the.
So your motion is to have a discussion of these matters?
That's the next meeting, yes.
And will you work with Jen to capture your wording exactly?
Yes.
Please, is there the motion is to have a discussion of use of the email list and the email that was sent out on Easter morning using our list from another organization? Is there a second? Diane Emerson seconded it. I'd like to defer discussion of this until next month, since we only have a few minutes left. I'm happy to probably answer any questions that people may have about this one. We'll move to announcements. I know, Debbie, you have an announcement that you'd like to make sure.
Colby Atwood, I'm on the board at the Journeyman Institute, and I'm here to invite you to a movie. And for any discussion, we're bringing an award-winning film that was built in Vermont about the challenges that boys and young men are facing, isolation, and all the difficulties that many of you, I'm sure, are well aware of. And we're convening a 45-minute movie and a panel of 4 people who are involved in that, and a discussion of what we can be doing here in Vashon and how that can be spread to other communities as well. The date is about 2 weeks from yesterday. It's the 28th of April, and we'll be passing out brochures with program outside Fritzway the Friday before, and that's in the brochure. It's information about our programs at the movie and during the discussion.
Where will that take place?
At the Vashon Theater. Okay. Green Tech, 1 day a month, 5:30. That's it. The doors open at 5:30 and the film begins at 6, runs about 45 minutes. And then there'll be a panel discussion after that and a question from the audience.
What is the name of the movie again, please, Colby?
The name of the movie is Gone Guys. GoneGuysFilm.com for information about it. It's one of the words in Vermont. It was filmed in a rural community there. And so the vibe is kind of back on like. And there are a lot of statistics about how difficult it is for boys, but there's also some rays of hope there. And the Journeyman Institute here on Vashon doing a lot of work with boys and young men to help them become wholehearted men. And so we'll have information about the programs that we're offering and the ways you can get involved with life. So hope to see you there on the 28th of April.
Thank you very much, Colby. Are there other announcements? Yes, Lori?
The Screenagers movie I was talking about, the free movie, it's on Wednesday, May 6th. The movie is at 6 p.m., but the doors open at 5:30. The movie is about growing up in the digital age, taking it to the screens, things like that. We'll have free food. It's at the Vashon High School Theater, but everyone's welcome. Yeah. hope to see
What is
them.
it, what's the name of the movie again?
Screenagers.
Greenagers?
Screenagers, like teenagers.
Got it, Greenagers, okay, thank you.
And it's a partnership with Bar Staff also.
Are there other announcements? Jen,
The tool library sale is this Saturday from 10 to 2.
the library sale this Saturday and two.
Wondering if Steve has an announcement about cleaning up the beach tires, or maybe that was already done.
Steve, the question is if you have an announcement on beach tire cleanup.
Yeah, we're continuing to map the distribution of all the beach tires, best visible at low tide. The Rotary's Epic Day of Service is May 16th, based at Jensen Point Park. And up until that time, we're asking the community to help us find these tires, dig them up, and let us know where they are if you're not able to transport them to Jensen Point. Just feel free to send me an email. If you go to Zero Waste Vashon's website or the Rotary's website, you can just Google Epic Day of Service and you'll find all the information about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Epic Day of Service for beach tire cleanup. Let Steve know where those tires are. Are there other announcements? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Who moved that?
Mike Dawson.
Mike, thank you, Mike. And is there a second?
Second.
Doug Ostrom's seconded. Is there discussion? Very well. All those in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. I don't think we need to count this. Is anybody opposed? By acclamation, we are adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Yes, for the-
Thank you all. Good night.
Yeah.